I'm about to share with you images I don't believe anybody has seen about the South Atlantic blob anomaly. I have a whole playlist on this now. I've showed you how the blob appears above Bouvet Island. I've showed you how satellite images have this area blocked out on one of the days the blob was appearing, and how if you go northwest there's a very strange, almost Yagi-Uda antenna pattern. But look at this. These were sent to me from someone who monitors NASA cloud images. Look at this shape coming from Bouvet Island. I'm just a lowly ham radio operator. Okay, I just took an interest in this and I'm sharing videos. What is this coming from Bouvet Island? It's consistent. Over years, we're talking years. I'm putting the dates. You guys tell me, did stuff happen around these dates? Look at this one. What? It's just... You guys tell me what you think of this.
In 2021, Bill Gates said all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. Well, he just got one step closer to that utopian dream. On June 21st, 2023, the USDA gave the first ever approval to 2 tech food startups, Upside Foods and Good Meat, to sell test tube chicken. It's actually cultivated in steel tanks, but you get the idea. Franken chicken sandwich, anyone? Live chicken cells are nourished in a broth of nutrients, and they do what stem cells do and create progeny all over the place. And then the masses of lab-grown chicken muscle are then shaped into familiar cutlets, boneless, no doubt, and sold retail. At least one of the companies is using genetic engineering to promote continuous growth of the cells. It's a little worrying that the proprietary processes used will not be likely open to scrutiny. With the mainstream media fawning all over them, they enthusiastically claim lab-grown meat will bring an end to the high environmental impact of the present meat industry. And then UC Davis research rained on their parade. They reported the impact of lab-grown meat is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than the real thing. Lots of consumers are apparently averse to their chicken having a steel vat for a mother, but not to worry, the USDA gave the industry $10 million of your money to address consumer acceptance. Now I'm just wondering, should we be genetically modifying meat of animals that took hundreds of thousands of years to develop into a favorite menu item? Is it just me, or is that arrogance that's likely to end in tears?
Amazing when you look at the history. So obviously start with the internet. That's a good thing. So
DARPA invented the internet.
yes, absolutely true.
Wow. Did DARPA invent GPS?
Sort of. What we did is we actually got GPS into a small form factor. So that's what DARPA did. So the fact that you can have GPS in your cell phones or things like that was absolutely prompted by DARPA.
Okay, did you invent Siri?
Yes, Siri came out of my office.
But if you were to ask anybody in this country who invented Siri, they'd say Apple.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I think we should ask Siri who invented Siri.
Okay.
Do you have your cell phone?
I do.
Well, let's see what she says.
All right, let's see. Siri, who invented you?
Like it says on the box, designed by Apple in California.
Design? Siri, what if I told you DARPA invented you? What would you say?
I think different.
Apple. They get all the credit.
Great.
They get none of the credit.
You know what? That's the best transition in the world.
It is? That's okay with DARPA.
Oh yeah. Because Apple had a huge role in inventing Siri as well. It's not like I handed them a finished product. We handed them a bunch of technologies that were very useful, and it was their job to then take that...
Well, not useful, essential.
Yes, fair. Essential, but still, they put a huge amount of effort and research into it, and so together we make a product.
I think for the next version of the glasses, one of the things that I'm pretty excited about, I think we'll start getting some consumer neural interfaces soon. I think that's going to be pretty wild. I'm not talking about something that jacks into your brain. I'm talking about something that you wear on your wrist that can basically read neural signals that your brain sends through your nerves to your hand to basically move it in different subtle ways that are maybe not perceptible to people around you. But we're basically able to read those signals and be able to use that to control your glasses or other computing devices. And I think that's going to be pretty wild. And we're obviously still at the beginning of that journey because we haven't rolled out the first version of the product. But playing with it internally, it's really cool.
Tava nublado. E até que lá. Mano, É a sombra? Que isso? Ué, o sol tá ali. Mas não tem sombra ligando a nada, velho. O sol tá ali. Ué.
Então, vamos chegar mais perto pra ver o que é aquilo.
Pega esse galho pra tacar lá. É da casa, será? Não tem nada ligando. Não tem nada ligando nos pés. Pô, será que não é um homem, não? Algum físico explica aí?
Here is a picture straight from the Library of Congress presented as a historical photo of New York City. And this is where we get into the so-called vanilla skies. This is classified as a negative, a glass plate negative, which means that this photo was taken straight from the camera and that's how it was. At first glance of this photo, obviously this thing down here looks a little weird, but everything else seems normal. Right here, when we zoom in, this is a painted car. What the That's like a cartoon drawing. And over here, we got people that are blatantly like painted in, right? Like this is painted. You know what I mean?
Those are paint strokes. There's like no denying that.
Now look at this. When we get up here, this is all painted here. This is a building here in the original photo, right? This is all painted in. So people are saying like, what are they actually trying to hide by painting over these things? Because this right here, like this from here up is all like, you know, fake, except for these right here. These are real buildings, you could tell. But what was here that they needed to paint and cover? Even in the Library of Congress, it doesn't say that, hey, it's a retouched photo. It's presented as a glass plate negative.
Wow. Everything is being exposed so far in 2024, and I think the best is still yet to come. Now the Vatican preparing guidelines for aspirations of other supernatural phenomena. Come on now. Let me know your thought in the comment section.
That 5 times in the past, every tree on Earth stopped growing. They stopped the Bristol cone pines in California. Their rings narrowed almost nothing for years. At the same time, the trees in Scandinavia did.
How old are these trees again? How old are these trees again?
It would have been 40. Yeah, there you go. Steve, man. You put Jamie to shame, man. Look at that. Bailey noticed indications of severe environmental downturns around 2354, 1628. See how close that is to 1700? 1159, 208, and AD 540. Every tree on Earth stopped growing. Now you tell me what causes that.
The purpose of the prohibition is so much more different than
what we were told.
At the time, people were using alcohol to fuel their cars and their homes. So they were using it as energy. And they were creating their own alcohols. It was a common practice to collect all your food scraps and ferment them in your home. And it was a completely renewable and easily attainable form of energy. And then they just banned it. They said you can't make it, you can't have it in your house. And they said it burns so cleanly, we wouldn't have any of the harmful environmental effects that we have today if we had continued this practice.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Isn't that crazy?
Pour a little bit of moonshine in there. What was that? That's wild.
Think about it. What we truly know is that the elites that were making those decisions were still drinking.
Yeah.
They were still drinking during the prohibition.
Ovako to izgleda jutros I kod nas. Evo. Bandit kruži. Što sad proizvode? Kako nevreme? Kakve divlje minuse? Užas.
You ever heard that old story that Eisenhower made a deal with the aliens to abduct people from the national parks in the United States, and that's why we have all these suspicious disappearances from the national parks? I have too, and I kind of believe it, because look, it looks like national parks tend to be a UFO hotspot for the past 23 years. Why is that? But I'm not done. And then when you lay the missing people in national parks map on top of the UFO sighting map, it just becomes so much more clear, right? And then to top it all off, when people go missing under suspicious circumstances in the national park, a lot of times they leave behind no physical evidence, not even a trail for the dog to pick up on. And then if they are found, many are found with no shoes and no socks, but clean feet. Again, if they are found, they are usually found 10 to hundreds of miles away from where they started or where they went missing from. And if they're alive, they have no memory of how they got there or what happened to them. A perfect example of this really scary phenomenon is baby Jared. He went missing when he was 3 years old from a national park while he was on a hike with his church group. This is what was found of him 4 years later. No body, nothing else, just this. His shoes look like they're still in perfect condition. His hoodie and his pants were turned inside out, and you can see that wildlife had taken stuff off of his pants. There's 2 schools of thought on baby Jared: abduction or mountain lion.
What is that?
Oh, is that a horse? Horse ghost?
There's a horse ghost. Can we get closer to the horse ghost?
Yeah.
A dog? What is...
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
I've never seen animals before.
To all the critics that think it's fake, like, yo, there's no big tombs, there's no, like...
In Washington, D.C., there are 23 major zodiacs in that city, more than any other city in the world. One other thing you're going to love, I don't think it's not on this map. In the earliest plat of Washington, D.C., all the lots are numbered, except one. You get up to 665, and then it jumps to 667, 668. So what's missing? 666, 666. And guess what sits on that lot today? The capital of the United States. Now, it's accepted by historians that the French Revolution was fomented by the Illuminati. George Washington, big Masonic. So they're passing along the ancient mysteries through Freemasonry. By the way, if you think that the Illuminati is just something you can laugh at and just some kind of boogaboo, here's a letter in 1782 from George Washington where he said, "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati had not spread to the United States. On the contrary, no one is more fully satisfied of that fact than I am." These guys knew more about what was going on than we do today with all our modern technology and all our electronic communication.
You can imagine this future in which, if you want, you have a personalized AI that knows, that has read every email, every text, every message you've ever sent or received, has an access to a full recording of your life, knows every document you've ever looked at, every TV show you've ever read, everything you've ever said or heard or seen, like all of your bits of input in and out. And you can imagine that that would be a super helpful thing to have. You can also imagine the privacy concerns that that would present. And I think if we stick on that frame and not say, well, should AI be able to train on this data or that data, but how are we going to navigate the privacy versus utility versus safety trade-offs or security trade-offs that come with that? And like, what does it even mean? Like, do we need a new definition of like privileged information so that your AI companion never has to like testify against you?
Everybody and their grandma knows about the Bohemian Club, Bohemian Grove, but I bet you didn't know about the California Club.
I'm in the path of totality of the eclipse right now. We're waiting for it to start. And I just want to show you, look at these contrails. I've never seen this many.
The United States of America is making moon trains. We just awarded a bunch of money to Northrop Grumman. Out of a dozen competitors, we chose them to help us build a space economy.
Yo, so I'm in Arizona, just driving through, and tell me when they started making clouds. What the I've been through here like 20 times, I've never seen that. That's wild.
The United States of America is making moon trains. We just awarded a bunch of money to Northrop Grumman. Out of a dozen competitors, we chose them to help us build a space economy. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to build a space economy. One of the 6 areas needed for future growth on the moon is power, which is why I believe we have this new all of a sudden moon race coming out of nowhere. And coincidentally, this new 10-year initiative matches up with this. Now, this new moon train is meant to transport humans, resources, supplies from moon base to moon base. We don't have moon bases yet that we know of, right? So we're making stuff up for stuff that we haven't made up yet. We're also doing this to save the environmental aspect of the moon, because when humans step on it, there's no environment, so the moon print stays forever. Train tracks, there's only one train track, no human tracks. We wouldn't want to offend the Martians. On top of this, right, the government is giving all this money to the private sector, who is then going to use Elon Musk's SpaceX to try and launch all these materials up to the moon. Okay, so just to recap here, China and Russia have a 10-year initiative to build a power plant on the moon. The USA comes out and says we have a 10-year initiative to build a train on the moon, and then we're going to use these private sectors to do so to build a space economy.
I'm in the path of totality of the eclipse right now. We're waiting for it to start. And I just want to show you, look at these contrails. I've never seen this many in the sky. Check this out. I mean, they're everywhere.
Rob, what is the Vatican keeping secret?
For their entire time that they've existed, they've collected manuscripts and relics and items from either campaigns or crusades not only for their own research and to support their ideas, but also to prevent anything coming out. Because they need to control the information around biblical issues and biblical dogma, they can't allow alternative views to become public, become disseminated.
What kind of things exactly are you talking about?
In terms of documentation, they've got 52 miles of shelving of books and manuscripts alone. So that will be everything from early first century fragments to potentially entire alternative gospels.
And why would that be damaging to the Catholic Church?
Because there's a potential for alternative views to emerge. There were lots of different books originally that were set to go in the Bible, and it was only through a process of politics mainly that the final books were chosen. There are also ideas that there's a book of Q that academics have termed a book that would have been the source material for the main Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, because the main Gospels were written long after the time of Christ. So if they've got something like a book of Q, that would undermine everything else.
Thanks to Ryan Garcia, everybody and their grandma knows about the Bohemian Club, Bohemian Grove, but I bet you didn't know about the California Club. Way more secretive, way less members, likely equally as important, so I wanted to go through it for you guys. Now, before we get into it too hard, we're just going to go straight to Wikipedia. As always, there's basically no info on this place, but the Jonathan Club is people who run LA, very rich, famous, Steven Spielberg type people. It says right here, the people who own Los Angeles belong to the California Club. Super strict, invite only, you have to have at least 6 existing club members give you reference, and then pass a series of interviews, background checks, reference checks. Very strict. I used to do produce sales. I was trying to get these guys as an account. It is so secretive. I was communicating with the chef to see what kind of produce they needed through the front desk guy. I never got a phone number. I was never allowed anywhere past the front lobby. I mean, I couldn't even talk to the chef myself. He was like a translator for 2 people that already spoke English. Place is very secretive. Now, to take it a little bit further, we have stuff like the Bohemian Club. I mean, some of the most rich, famous people go there, industry heads, and we have member lists. Here's the weird part about the California Club. Nobody knows who's in it. Nobody knows. They don't boast it, it's interesting, to say the least. So now we look at somewhere like San Vicente Bungalows. This is a really private club in West Hollywood. I also tried to sell them produce. These guys at least boast who they have. Prince Harry, Steven Spielberg, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, I love you. Zoe Kravitz as well. So it's interesting. I can't find a single member's name on California Club besides the guy that started it in the 1800s. We even know who's in Bohemian Grove. We don't know who's in the California Club.
3 billionaires destroying the real estate market right now. And number 1, I bet you've never even heard of. Number 3 is Jeff Bezos. He's on here for 2 reasons. He spent millions investing in this company, and you might think it's not a big deal, it's just a real estate company. A real estate company has already bought up 200 single-family homes and taken $100 million of inventory off the market for first-time home buyers. And he's buying up hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland, 420,000 acres, but also way behind Bill Gates. Which is bad, but still not bad enough to be on this list. Number 2 is the CEO and co-founder of BlackRock, Larry Fink. Look at this right here. BlackRock and other corporations are buying up to 30% of available homes in Georgia, 30% in Arizona, and the list just goes on and on. 29%, almost 30% in Texas. That's a huge state. They are choking the housing market of much needed supply by buying it all up with cash. Number 1 is businessman John Carl Malone. He's 82, has a net worth of $9.4 billion that he made in telecommunications, is the largest private owner of farmland across America, and the 2nd largest private land owner just overall. Between him, another billionaire Ted Turner, and billionaire Bill Gates, they own over 6 million land acres in the U.S. That's incalculable amount of resources that we all depend on.